What an awesome setup. We look so much better when we smile. You know what went through my mind while I was thinking about that song is I've been looking through a lot of old pictures. Anybody ever do that? Old pictures. People that I don't even know who they are because my mother has them and we're trying to go through them and she doesn't remember who some of them are, but it's interesting how years and years ago people just stood and got their picture made. And I said to her, I said, were they unhappy? She said, well, no, that's just the way people did. I'm like, what was that about? And when did we start smiling for pictures? Isn't that interesting? Because, you know, smiling is very important. I loved the lesson you did recently about laughter. Because smiling decreases our stress. So if you're feeling a little anxious about something, smile, because that all of a sudden lowers your blood pressure and it increases your neurotransmitters and it helps you make a better connection to the person you're talking with. You know, I don't know if any of you watched the movie years ago, Patch Adams, but I loved that because it was about a real person in medicine, a doctor in a hospital that believed that if you go into the hospital room and you smile and you laugh and you get the patient to laugh, they're going to heal a lot faster. Isn't that interesting? So how often do you smile when you're going through something that you would rather not go through? Whether it's personal, whether it's something like we've been through here at Unity of Nashville. And how often do you really smile and go, you know, I could turn this around in my own being first, and then things would be different. So I wanted to start today by reminding you of Myrtle Fillmore. The reason I'm actually standing here and I became a Unity minister is because I was so enamored with Myrtle and her story. I had had some Unity classes and I had understood about affirmations and denials and all those things, but I was like, how does that really work? And then when I began to read Myrtle's story, I realized that this woman was searching for some answers. She was told by a medical doctor, you have tuberculosis and you only have a few years to live. And she was like, I don't like that. But she went to a New Thought talk by E.B. Weeks, and she heard the words, you do not inherit sickness. You're a divine child of God. And she grabbed onto that. She went, that's a thought I want to think. And I want to incorporate it into my mind. So some of you know the story of how she did that. She sat in the silence every night. I'm going to say that again. She sat in the silence every night and she wrapped her mind around, you do not inherit sickness. I don't inherit illness. I don't inherit sickness. I am a divine child of God. And the end of that story is that she healed herself. Some of you are going, The end of that story is she healed herself with the power and the presence that we all have. And some of you are still looking really serious. Does that fact not make you smile? Does it make you understand that that's a power and a presence that's flowing through all of us? And we can use that same presence and power no matter what might be going on in our world. So, you know, Myrtle Fillmore was so excited about all of that she started inviting other people in to be with her and to sit in the silence with her. And that's how all of this started. That's why we're here today. So, do you not think that if we could believe the truth that we hear, not the truth that other people are spouting out there right now in the world, but the truth that we hear that comes from Unity and New Thought, that it might change our lives? Has anybody read the Daily Word today? I've got a few hands. That's going to be your homework as I'm stepping in to be your new minister of record. You need to be reading those. Today's word is affirming the divinity of all the world's people. I envision world peace. Now, did anybody's mind go, all the world's people? What about that person? What about that person I saw on television the other night? What about that person? So I want you to hear this again. Affirming the divinity of all the world's people, I envision world peace. Can you feel that? Now I want you to talk to somebody close to you. You know, I like you all to do this here, and tell that person what's coming up for you around that statement. Do you believe that we can create world peace? Go. You know, Jesus, the master teacher, said, "It will be done unto you as you..." Yeah. So again, I ask you, do you believe we can create world peace? It has to start right here. And it has to start right here. So I say that because there's been stuff happening here, hasn't there? Stuff. That's what I call it. Situations. That some of us have not been happy about. And some of us have had conflict about. And some of us have had questions about. And some of us wanted to know a whole lot more about than we even know about. And so how do we deal with that when we're attempting to create peace? Well, you all also had something wonderful on Facebook this week, and I've been monitoring that and looking at that, and I'm like, why are there not 60 or 70 likes on this? So how many of you checked the Facebook page for Unity of Nashville? I need to see more hands than that. You want to get this message out there? We got to work together. The Facebook post was, "The moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you." I want you to hear that again. That's an interesting thing because I went, oh, that's a bold statement. The moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. And I went, okay, if that's true, then I'm going to jump out here on a limb with some of you. And hopefully some of the people that have disappeared over the last month, they're listening online and they'll hear this too. It is not the past that is bothering you. You are bothering yourself about your perception of the past or your thoughts about the past. I want you to hear that one more time. It is not the past that is bothering you. You are bothering yourself with your perceptions of the past and your thoughts about the past. Can you hear that? We're just bothering ourselves. And yes, we want to go, well, it was that person's fault, or it was that person's fault, or that person shouldn't have said something, or that person shouldn't have said something. And here we are on the last day of June, envisioning world peace. And so how are we going to have world peace when I'm making something wrong that happened a month ago? Somebody just sucked all the air out of the room because I felt it. Yeah, just breathe. Because it's all okay. You know, I have worked a little bit with your board, but not a lot. I've worked a lot with CSL's board. And all boards have the same question to someone like me that comes in: how fast can we get this done so we can move on? And my answer is always the same: well, it takes as long as it takes. And then their next question is, well, how long is it going to take? I have no idea. The only answer to that is in the hearts and the minds of those of you that are sitting here. And the hearts and the minds of those people that I know and love dearly that have chosen to not be here right now because they're in pain. And that's okay too. And you're going, how can you say that's okay? Because that's their process. And my gut and my heart tells me that eventually those doors will open and I will see some of those people. But that's their process. And it takes as long as it takes. So I'm going to share a little bit this morning with you about a practice that I've told some of you that we're going to learn how to do, and I've told some of the board we're going to learn how to do. But it starts with having to reset your breath. You remember that from last week? You're going to put your left hand over your heart. Your right hand is going to go close to your belly button, and you're just going to breathe out first. So breathe out all of that stuff that you're holding on to that you're ready to let go. Just breathe out. And then just pay attention to yourself and go, where am I in this moment? And most of the time I have to breathe out again because there's still residual things. Because any of you that are sitting here that want to go rescue some of those people that are not here right now, just let them be. It's okay. We're all okay. And just allow your breath to balance. And what I want to share with you this morning is that I'm going to throw 3 dates at you that you don't have to remember, but they'll kind of sit back here for a little bit. July the 25th, July the 26th, July the 27th, we will have circles about healing our past. And some of you are going, I want to be far, far away from that. Thank you very much. I promise with me running it won't be as horrible as you might think it might be. And we can smile through it. But I also want you to hear that healing our past is not just about the event that happened a month ago. Healing our past is how many years? 108? There's a lot of stuff. I used to be here during some of those years. And some things happened then that were not exactly pleasant all the time. And so it's healing everything, because you know what happens to us as human beings? When something happens that is traumatic in the moment, I get upset, but it also dredges up all of that stuff that's similar to that from the past. And I just add all that in and start spewing all that out at everybody. Right? We're going to heal all that. I'm going to throw a little scripture at you because I'm a minister and I can do that. I have license to do that. Ephesians 4 verse 3 says, making every effort to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. They used your name in that scripture even. The unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Now, Ephesians was written to a group of people that were living together in Ephesus, and some of them were Christians, new Christians, and some of them were Jews. Think about that statement again. Making every effort to maintain the unity of spirit in the bond of peace. Do you imagine that they had some conflict about how to come together? And so a letter was sent to them. They didn't have internet and all that back then. They just had a letter that came through, who knows what, a pigeon or however it got there. And the letter said, I urge you to create peace. I urge you to do that, even through your differences. And the way that I want you to do that is to learn to live with each other peaceably. What about if we don't believe the same thing? They didn't say anything about that. Learn to acknowledge each other's gifts. Whoa. Focus on your purpose together in this world, not on your differences. Wow. Who knew? And so how do we do that? We're going to be learning, you heard me say last week, how to agree and disagree in love. We can do that. We can do that in here. And wouldn't it be lovely, as I said last week, to do that at the dinner table with your parents or your kids? Or with somebody that believes something different politically than you do? You mean we can agree and disagree in love? We can. And so how do we do that? We do it first with our mind. You know, I've been in New Thought so many years that I don't really remember a whole lot about what it was like in the old place that I was, but I know that there was conflict there too. But unfortunately in New Thought, sometimes we do what I call as metaphysical malpractice. We go, I can just pray this away. I'll just say it's all God, it's all good, it's all okay. And sometimes it doesn't feel that way. And so the first step is to tell your mind, conflict happens. It's going to. Even if I'm just standing in a room by myself, sometimes conflict happens with me and myself. So when there's two or more people together, conflict happens. Look at somebody beside you and say, conflict happens. We don't want to hear that, do we? We think we can pray it away. So just breathe. Because instead of praying it away, we're going to learn how to respond and not react to conflict. That's going to be the first thing. How many of you have ever been in some conflict and realized that when you just allowed yourself to breathe and respond, it was better? Instead of reacting, because I need that person to show up the way I need them to show up. You know, I have a 92-year-old mother who has dementia. And even on a good day, there's conflict. She doesn't like what's happening. She doesn't like me being there. She thinks I'm not there enough. And then when I'm there, it's not the right way or I'm not doing it. It's just conflict. Conflict happens. And if I allow myself to react to all of that, we just fight. And I do that sometimes, and then I go, what am I doing? Fighting with a 92-year-old woman about her pills. Okay, that's silly. How can I respond differently in this moment, in the space of love and in peace? So with our minds, and then with our hearts, we've got to commit to this. Commit to a spiritual practice of reading this daily word, of sitting in the silence every day at some point in time. I do it at 4:30 every morning because that's just what works for me. Once I start my day, you know, the cell phones and the binging and the bangings, it's like I can't have 30 minutes away much. But I know not very many of you are up at 4:30 in the morning, so it's pretty quiet. It's quiet in my world at 4:30 in the morning. But having a spiritual practice makes all the difference in the world, because all of a sudden you can believe, I envision world peace. You can begin to see it. You can begin to feel it. The more you read about it, the more you put into your mind about peace, the more you're going to see it. It's the way it works. The more I affirm before I drive to 5119 Brucewood Drive, which is where my mother lives, when I affirm that it's going to be loving and peaceful, guess what? It is. Not necessarily because she's any different, but because I'm different when I walk in. So our minds and our hearts, and then it gets down to the actions. So I'm going to throw another scripture at you. James 1, verse 19 says we must be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Wrath, that's an interesting word for anger, isn't it? Wrath. Even sounds funny when you say it. That's usually using some sort of empathetic listening. More listening, less spouting. That's hard sometimes, isn't it? When somebody is sitting there, I give you the example of my mother again. When she got out of the hospital, she accused me of messing up all of her medicines. And here it was me just sitting there with her. She had medicines that she had had at home. She had 2 new prescriptions that I had to pick up at the pharmacy, and she had all the medicines she'd had in the hospital, and they were all there. And I set them all out on the table, and I said, Mother, a nurse practitioner will be here in the morning to sort all this out. That was the wrong thing to say. She's like, I don't need anybody to sort out my medicines. I've been taking medicines for 50 years. I was like, I understand. And some of them are different. And you've been taking different things in the hospital, and they're shifting some of your things. Well, I don't need any help. And you need to get out of here because you've just messed up all my medicines. I was like, okay, I can do that. And I reached out to my son who lives with her, and I said, you're going to have to take off work in the morning because there's going to be a nurse practitioner come in, and she's not going to be welcomed. So you need to let her in. Slow to speak, fast to listen. Slow to speak, fast to listen. And so, are we willing? Are we willing to do that? Are we willing to be in a situation where, my mind told me my mother is wrong. But my heart said, that doesn't matter. What really matters is that we love each other and that she's confused. And I can be peace and I can be love in this situation because it's okay. So again, learning how to agree and disagree in love. July 25th, July 26th, July 27th. I know one of those dates will work because everybody's busy. They'll be putting those out in the newsletter and letting you understand what's going to be happen. So for us to end today, I want you to echo some words with me that I used in my center for years and years and years to remind us about peace. Because I believe that that's the first foundational piece of anything else. If I want to have love, if I want to have joy, if I want to have good health, I'm going to have peace. So I'm going to say a little something and let you say it back to me. May I be peace. May I be well. May I be love. May I be happy. I want you to think about that for a minute. And which one of those did you go, oh? Because there will be one. So let's try it once more. May I be peace. May I be well. May I be love. May I be happy. Now I want you to think about someone that you might not feel all of those things about. Everybody got somebody? My mother's sitting right here, right beside me. I can feel her. Somebody. Now I want you to echo me again. May you be peace. You were quieter. May you be peace. May you be well. May you be love. May you be happy. Can you see that person in that way? Now let's say this for all of us. I want you to stand up with me for a second. May we be peace. May we be well. May we be love. May we be happy. I want us to say it one more time, and this time I want you to believe it. May we be peace. May we be well. May we be love. May we be happy. And as I end, may you turn to someone and give them a great big smile. Namaste.